Welcome to Safe and Sound, a monthly podcast on cybersecurity, presented by GrandPad and the Leighton Podcast Network. Welcome in once again to Safe and Sound, the podcast where we talk about keeping seniors safe online. And we're, as always, joined by the co-founder and CEO of GrandPad, Scott Lien. And Scott, great to chat with you once again.
Great to be with you, Brian.
Well, I think before we jump in, one of the things we want to talk about in our time together today, because we're coming in on tax season, is we're going to talk some tax scams and things to look for and red flags that are going to pop up this time of year. But before we do that, I'd like to talk a little bit about something that happened in our area this week. We had a lady that was scammed out of in excess of $12,000. You and I have talked several times about the fact that this is not uncommon in our area. But the thing I think in looking at Jason Malolo's story at kwno.com, the thing that jumped out to me most and was the most disturbing to me, and you and I talked about this earlier in the week, is she went to the bank, she collected the money, but then they showed up at her door to collect it. And that takes us to a whole different frightening level for me.
And sadly, our understanding is this was kind of the classic grandchildren scam where, grandma, as you know, my friends were in New York and my friend got drunk and we're in jail and we need you to get this money and get it to us right away. So that scam is 20 years old and it continues. And almost every senior that I talk to has had that attempted to be perpetrated against them, my mom included. So that's common. Now, what they realize is, depending on where the person lives and where the bank is, they realize, the banks are putting up more and more defenses. So when a 97-year-old lady comes into the bank and says, I need to withdraw $12,000, the banks are required by law, it's called KYC, Know Your Customer, to ask questions. Who are you? What are you doing with the money? And where is the money going? That's not being nosy, it's the law. They know that there's questions. They know also that when you transfer money, and I just did a wire transfer, used to be like you put in the account numbers, money goes, like it puts a big pop-up now. Are you sure? Did you know that these scams don't send money to unknown sources and they walk you through, basically try to talk you out of it? So there's a lot of red flags. And sometimes too, they know that seniors might have other possessions of value or wealth. I heard of another one in the Minnesota area here where the senior said, well, I don't have that kind of money in my bank account. And they just kept poking and prodding. And they determined that she had some family heirloom rare gold coins. So they said, okay, you can't pay us in cash, we'll take the coins, right? That's part one. They're gonna figure out and they're gonna ask questions. And oh, by the way, they're using AI to do lots of intelligence. They're figuring out who your banks are. They, through public records, can see a lot of stuff. Oh, you own your home. Oh, you just inherited some money from your brother who died. And then the second part of this is they have a very elaborate ecosystem, meaning the person on the phone is just one part of the scam. And there's a whole underground, the dark internet where they all cooperate together. So in this case, someone actually showed up at the door to get the money. He may or may not have anything to do with the person that was the caller. He might have just been paid. We need you to go to this address and you're going to pick up a package from this person and you're going to get paid X dollars to pick up the package, right? And he may not have even known that he was part of a scam. There was a terrible incident that happened a year or so ago, similar, where the bad guy sent an unsuspecting Uber driver. Uber picks up packages and delivers packages. The senior who was getting scammed realized by the time the Uber driver showed up, he was getting scammed. And sadly, he shot the Uber driver, right? Killed this poor, middle-aged lady who had nothing to do. She was just doing her job as a delivery person. So it is very sophisticated. And, when people get scammed online now, I tell them, okay, they're not going to give up, right? They're going to keep trying different things. And I'm not trying to scare anybody, but they may show up at your door. So it's real.
I guess to your point, could have been Uber driver, DoorDash, who knows, right? And tragically, I remember you telling me that story once before about the driver that was shot. I worry about the fact that it's somebody who was maybe in on the scam, and once that senior opens the door, do they come barreling in and do worse things? So sad.
We all have to be careful, and that's why what GrandPad is all about is connecting super seniors, those over the age of 75, with their family, friends, and caregivers. Keeping conversation in the family I know my mom, when she was alive, was very reluctant to call me and say, hey, this happened. She always said, I know you're busy, Scott. I don't want to
Yeah.
bother you. So we were more connected than ever. I would video call her all the time, and we'd have conversations. Just say, hey, Mom, how you doing today? Well, I got this strange phone call, and it just kind of came up in the context. So that's the key. That's what GrandPad's all about, is connecting families, so you have that dialogue, so you can keep all the family members safe. And the second point, when I called her on GrandPad, it's a secure, verified either audio call or video call. She knew that when GrandPad rang, and it said it was Scott, it was for sure Scott. It wasn't someone spoofing my number and acting like Scott, because we have end-to-end security.
The other thing I was going to mention too, before we jump into the tax scam thing, is when I sent you that article, you made the comment to me, and I think this should be very reassuring for a lot of folks, whether they're a GrandPad customer or not. One of the things you said back to me in your email response was you let your team know, and I think that's awesome.
Yeah, immediately. We're constantly, sadly, every day sharing and educating my team. So first, we keep them as my employees safe, their families, the seniors in their life. But we've incorporated this into everything we do at GrandPad to keep families safe. And we encourage people, if you have a question, you can call us, whether you're a customer or not. Our phone number is right on our website, grandpad.net. We'll share it at the end here. But anyone can call us and go, this happened to me. What do you think? And we have experts that can help figure that out. I will say this, the common sense rule applies. If you smell a fish, it likely is a fish here. And it's actually the other side that's worse. It will be so convincing. It will sound so much like your grandson's voice. And he'll know everything about the name of your dog and where you live and where your brother graduated from college and da-da-da-da-da. They know everything. That's why you have to be so suspicious. And the flag, we'll talk more, but the flag, when somebody starts asking for money, that's the red flag right there. I mean, the bad guys ultimately don't call just to chit chat and be nice. They will chit chat with you for a long, long time and build trust and rapport and relationship. And you're like, wow, this person's really nice. They may call you 25 times before they move in for the kill and go for the money.
That's one of the things I admire about your company. A customer or not, pick up the phone, call us. We're here to help. It's your mission is bigger than selling them a GrandPad. So I do appreciate that about you and your team, Scott. All right, let's talk. We're about a little over 30 days out from tax day. That means that these guys are going to be trying tax scams as well. And I assume they're pretty good at it.
They sure are. The bad guys take advantage of the calendar, seasonality, events in the world, things that are going on. We talked last fall about during election season, the scammers were trying to get election donations. Now they're using the tax season. So scammers know that older adults have retirement savings, Social Security benefits, and a lifetime of financial assets. And they know that a lot of seniors may not be aware of the latest scams. And they know that seniors are such wonderful, caring, considerate people. And generally, when the phone rings, they answer it. They'll get in there and they use fear tactics. The scammers threatening legal action, claiming unpaid taxes, or even offering too good to be true refunds. So they're going to pressure you into making impulsive decisions. I mean, and as we get closer to tax day, April 15th, then the pressure is really on.
Yeah. So let's talk about what are the most common tax scams that we're seeing right now.
So there's kind of four big categories. First is the unpaid taxes scam. So someone calls you pretending to be from the IRS, claiming that you owe back taxes and you must pay immediately or risk arrest. Again, and I'll say they may call you, they may text you, they may email you, they may send you a letter in the mail, and it will all look very, very official. The second one is the fake refund scam. So you get an email or text saying you're owed a refund, but you need to provide some personal information first. And that's an example where, they're phishing. They're sending these out to thousands and thousands of tens of thousands of people. They're just trying to get a little nibble, and somebody responds, says, oh, well, here's my personal information. Now they know they have a live one and they go after it.
The red flag on that one certainly is if the IRS owes you a refund, they've got all that information. It's not like they need you. They need your information. They've got it. They know everything on us on that regard.
That's right. And sadly, the bad guys also know, because they're using advanced data mining to figure out what's going on in Brian's life or in Scott's life. And so, as an example, another very common trigger is grandma and grandpa, age 85, are living happily ever after. Sadly, grandpa passes away a few months ago. Obituaries in the paper, the bad guys know that. So they now take advantage and they'll say, hey, Grandma Lien, we know your husband passed. There's this special estate, probate tax, you have to pay this. She's never gone through that. They're like, well, gosh, they know that my spouse was 60 years passed away. It must be legit. So they'll weave together actual facts that make a very compelling story. Another category is stimulus payment scams. So scammers will use text and email pretending to be the IRS, claiming you're eligible for an unclaimed stimulus check. And, with COVID and so on, there has been various stimulus payments. I've had, it doesn't come from one person, hundreds of different text messages ever since COVID, because I own and run a business. They are absolutely telling me they're going to give me $2.4 million. And it's the same one, different scams. And of course, it's fake. And the last category is the advanced fee tax relief scam. So scammers claim they can lower your tax debt in exchange for a fee and then disappear after receiving that payment. Now, one thing wrapped into all of these types of scams that you got to be really look out for, and this one is used across the board, and especially people that maybe are not as tech savvy, because a lot of times they'll say, well, we'll use Venmo or PayPal or something to send you money, Scott. And the person, more older person might say, well, I don't use any of those tools. They say, oh, well, no problem. We'll send you a check. Do you have email? Yeah. Oh, yeah, I have email. Well, we'll email you a PDF of a check. Just print that out, take that to your bank and cash it. And this just happened to someone that I know. And you cash it. It's a check. The bank goes through the deposit cycle, but because it's from, and this particular check was drawn on Wells Fargo, a legit bank, but because it was on unknown account, it for me, the person that got the check who's being scammed, it looks like the money's in my account, but there's a hold on it. So in this case, the person got a check for $900. They said, oh, I got $900 from this, as part of this ruse. And they could see the money in their account, but it had a hold on it. They went. And the bad guys then say, oh, we need to do this. And I'm going to talk more about this particular scam later. But then now they get you to pay $900 to some other scammer because you're like, oh, yeah, that's fine. They gave me $900. I can give them $900. We're all even. But then 3 days later, that money is drawn back. It's clawed back. The hold is taken because the bank now realizes it's a scam. So don't fall for those, even when you say, well, they gave me money, so I'm good, until the money really, really, really clears, which can be more than 10 days. And even then, in the cases of scams, it can be clawed back.
I didn't even know you could PDF cash a check. That's I learned something new from you again today. All right, so let's talk about how the IRS actually contacts you. We know that, again, to the point I made earlier, they're not calling up and asking you for information. They have information, but let's talk about when they do reach out to you, what are some things that they never do?
First, they'll almost always contact you through regular U.S. postal mail. And, as you said, they know you, they have your social, they know a lot about you. And so they're going to give you those clues and, it'll look very official. If they do contact you by phone, they've usually said, hey, we sent a letter. Did you get the letter? And it's fair if you get a call, you can say, hey, I want a letter to document that. But they won't demand payment over the phone or email. They won't ask for your credit card or social security number via email or text. They won't threaten you with arrest or deportation, and they will not request payment via gift cards, cryptocurrency, or other scammy methods. So, if you get a call or email that sounds suspicious, hang up, delete, block the person. And then if you think there is something, contact the IRS directly. And their official phone number is 1-800-829-1040. And of course, you can go to their website. And, for me too, this is where have your trusted advisors. It might be a family member. It might be your banker, might be your lawyer, might be your CPA, and get them involved. It's always good to get another set of eyes on it. What do you think? Does this look legit? Those people, banks in particular, used to work in the banking industry. I know a lot of people that still do. They're like, Scott, you can't believe every single day we got people walking into our branch bank saying, I need to take money out. And then they tell them like, hey, this is a scam. Here's what's going on. I have a family member who works at a Hy-Vee grocery store. Whenever they see someone, and especially elderly people coming in, Hy-Vee sells gift cards. They see someone coming in buying dozens of gift cards and, with large dollar amounts, they ask why. And in some cases, they will not let them do it. They say, look, we've got a cap. You can only buy one or whatever, because they know it's a scam. Gift cards are a common way for the bad guys to move money around.
So a couple things on that. Number one, we did at the radio station a promotion where I needed a dozen gift cards for clients. I went to Target. I needed $50 gift cards. It would only allow me to buy 6. I did self-check. And then when I tried to do the other 6, it would not let me do it. I had to have someone come over and override it. And we were having a conversation about it. And I thanked him. I said, thank you for doing this, because was it an inconvenience? Yeah, but if it protected somebody else, so be it. The other thing is, I constantly surprised, I guess is the word, by the number of people who think that a government agency or any police agency or anything like that would accept gift cards or cryptocurrency. I'm continually amazed, but I think it's, to your point, and all the times of doing these with you, Scott, it's that fear factor that they lock people into, the speed that they force them to go at, makes people sometimes, I guess, lose some, I don't want to say common sense, but what they would normally feel is right or wrong.
No, it's psychological manipulation. I mean, I've seen lots of videos. As I've worked with seniors, I've talked to the bad guys directly myself. I've intervened. They're extremely good at this. This is what they do every single day. These are not high school kids in their mom and dad's basement. These are professional scammers that have been highly trained. They have fantastic tools and technology, and there's so much money at stake. They're extremely persistent. And just like sales, this is like a reverse sales, right? We all know sales is a numbers game. You got to call a lot of people. You got to get a lot of leads. You got to work the leads, all that. This is the same thing in reverse. You got to call a lot of people. If you get somebody like you or I that's like, nope, I know this is a scam, they hang up, they move on. It's dialing for dollars, literally. And they're really, really good at it.
Let's give that number one more time to the IRS, because it's an easy one to remember if you say it just a little differently than you did, Scott. It's 800-829-1040. I think we all know what 1040 means, the old 1040 form. So give them a call if you have any questions.
Now, one other thing that is going on, we're all aware of lots of changes going on in Washington, D.C. right now. The IRS is going through massive change, lots of cuts and layoffs going on. So that's makes this even more complicated, because you may call that number and you might not get a hold of anybody, right? Yeah. And you may be on hold forever and you may get really frustrated. So, in that case, like if you just can't get to the bottom of it, you can send a letter, you can document it, and we all know you can file for a tax extension, right? So, and that's where bring in a professional, bring in your lawyer, your tax accountant, your CPA, and say, hey, I got this. What should we do? And in many cases, it can be, well, we're not sure what's going on. We can't get a hold of the IRS. We're going to file, note this, because as long as we're on record that we filed for an extension while we sorted this out, you're going to be okay.
All right. So let's give them a few tips to stay safe.
First, verify everything. If you receive a call or email from IRS that claims to be IRS, don't engage, hang up, call them back. And, they know this, and so they're not going to be mad or offended. They're going to be glad that you're being careful. Second, use secure channels. Only file your taxes through trusted sources like irs.gov or a certified tax preparer. Don't share your personal information. Never give out Social Security bank details or passwords over the phone or email. Now, the bad thing here is the bad guys have most of this stuff now. Social Security numbers used to be fairly secure. Sadly, they're not anymore. Check the source before clicking on links. Hover over links, but my advice is if you're not 100% sure, don't click on it. I get emails and they have attachments and links. Most of the time, if I'm not 100% certain, if it's something that comes out of left field, I just ignore it. Ask for help. Talk to a trusted family member. As I said, a banker, lawyer, tax attorney, get help and report it. If you find out there is some scam, reporting it The IRS has ways of go phishing at irs.gov, or you can report fraud at the Federal Trade Commission. And I know it feels like, and it's easy to say, nothing's going to happen, but they do piece together all these little details. And every once in a while, you'll see in the news, they catch, they try to get upstream and they get a big fish and they bust a whole crime ring, and it really slows it down. They're also doing hotspot analysis. So they see these things sometimes are regional. They say, ooh, look we just had 1,000 reports of this type of scam in Minnesota, and then they move in. The other thing is that they are constantly looking at those trends at the federal level and state level, and then passing that on to local authorities. I see it all the time here where, on Facebook and other, city government websites, they'll say, look out for the scam. We're getting reports of a lot of people in Minnesota are getting this scam, which one additional one I wanted to bring up, it's not related to tax season, but it seems to have really flared up and is a hot one right now. And I think we're probably going to dedicate a whole future podcast to it, because we know someone that was personally affected by this. And this is the fake job offer scam. And, as the economy gets worse right now, and I think sadly we're moving towards a period of inflation and high unemployment, the bad guys are taking advantage of that current event. And I get about 2 a week. My wife just got one the other day. It's these really lucrative job things, and the one my wife got claimed like, hey, this is Home Depot. Of course it wasn't. We have this great job for you. You can make $1,000 a day by only working an hour a day. Hey, that's a good job. And you get to work at home and da, 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 da. And it was so far-fetched. Of course, she knew it was a fake. But I said, we're going to interview someone live that was scammed by this, actually quit their job to take the fake job. Oh. And got scammed all along the way, and we'll share that. But look out for the fake job offer scams. They're trolling everywhere. Facebook, LinkedIn is another source. Be careful.
Wow, unbelievable! I want to roll back before we wrap up. Roll back to one thing that you were talking about. You were talking about reporting these scams, and people say, nothing's going to come of it. These guys are in these big call centers and they're overseas and everything. I think the bigger importance of reporting the scams is to do what you and I are sitting here doing and others continue to do, and that is just raise awareness. Are they going to catch all these guys? No, but if we continue to talk about it because people are reporting it, it will continue to keep people at least aware and alert. And I think that can be as important, maybe not as important as catching these guys, but certainly very important.
Yeah, education is key. I mean, you can't put your head in the sand. You can't ignore it. And the other thing is, don't engage with these. I've just had a friend say, oh, yeah, I got these 50 text messages. So I sent them back a zinger. I showed them. And I'm like, that's the worst possible thing you could do, because now they know that there's a human being at the other end of that. And you may stop that particular thread of text, but that's in their little database. Say, oh, yep, we got a live one here. And she was triggered by this, so blah, blah, blah. But they're going to come at you. That day it might have been the fake job offer scam. Tomorrow they come at you with the IRS scam.
Yeah, I got another one of those text messages. Hey, how are you? And just because of talking to you so much about all of this, I knew it was a phishing to see if there was a live body on the other end of that phone number, and I just deleted it. It's like the third one I've gotten since you raised my awareness on that. All right, one of the things that we always talk about, and I think we kind of tend to end most of our discussions with, is the acronym that you guys use. And I think the more we use this and the better we get it out there, that's why I like to make sure we use it in every one of our discussions. And so, Scott, tell us about STOP.
So at GrandPad, we remember this with the STOP acronym. So first, S, so suspicious contacts. Be aware when you're talking to people online, and you don't, who is this person? I get this email or text message out of the blue. That's that suspicious. The S is also for just stop, slow down, and don't ever feel rushed. The T is threats or urgency, right? And the bad guys are going to create some trigger event. Tax season, April 15th, this got to be taken care of right now, or you're going to have a fine. So, it's when there's a threat or urgency, that's a flag. Outlandish promises. When there's something that sounds too good to be true, like this job offer I was just talking about, it is. And then the final, as I said earlier, when somebody's asking for money, some payment request, that is for sure a red flag. Now, like I said, they may be very, very, very patient. I mean, they may groom you for months. And especially a lot of these romance scams, they'll play ping pong with you on email and text messages for months. And you may think like, wow, this person's invested so much time in this relationship. It's got to be real. Surprise, surprise. It's a computer you're talking to. There's no human being on the other end. And then they'll start small and then they move in for the kill. So STOP, be careful.
All right, let's give them that last bit of advice here, Scott, as we wrap up. Just again, what do they need to do as tax season's upon us here to stay safe?
Stay vigilant, trust your instincts. It is good to actually file your taxes early. One of the scams I talk about is, the refunds. The bad guys can go file refunds in your name and get it. Now you're due a refund and the IRS says, hey, we already paid it to someone else. So it is good to file your taxes early. That way you're done with it. And work with professionals. When in doubt, talk to your banker, lawyer, CPA. And, if it sounds too good to be true, it is. I'm sorry. I've actually never met anyone that's won the lottery, and I'm 60 years old. So, use good tools. So we're obviously believe GrandPad can be part of the solution. Increase communication in the family in a secure way, and GrandPad can help be part of that.
And let's remind them once again, customer or not, if they have a question, they can reach out to you. It's grandpad.net or 888-904-4723. Again, it's one of the things I admire about your company, Scott, is customer or not, you're trying to help people. So it's grandpad.net or 888-904-4723.
It's always my pleasure talking to you, Brian. I'm glad we can kind of help be a small part of the solution and get the word out. Together, if we all stay vigilant, we can outsmart these scammers. Until next time, stay safe and sound.
Safe and Sound is a monthly podcast presented by GrandPad and the Layton Podcast Network. Find this and other podcasts on demand at WinonaRadio.com.